Andreas Vitsarakis, and I am the Director of Broadband Spectrum for Select Spectrum. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today. We will be going over the FCC's Notice of Proposed Rulemaking and the impacts it will have on 2.5 gigahertz educational broadband spectrum, educational institutions, and rural America. We will also speak about our informal coalition, EBPARC, which stands for Educators and Broadband Providers for American Rural Communities. As you might already know, this webinar has a neat feature that gives you the ability to raise your hand if you have a question that is relevant to the slide we are on. But regardless, we will hold a Q&A at the end of the webinar for any questions that you might have. On May 10th, 2018, the FCC adopted a Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, and they currently seek comment on establishing 3 windows for new educational broadband spectrum issuance. First, a window for existing licensees to expand their current service area to fill census tracts or counties that they partially cover. Second, a window for tribal nations located in rural areas to acquire licenses in unserved areas. And third, a window for educational entities that do not currently hold 2.5 gigahertz licenses and are located in an area of the country that is unserved by EBS. Let's take a look at some of the benefits of the existing EBS structure. Current EBS rules have been working well for years, benefiting schools, communities, lessors, and commercial operators in both urban and rural areas. There is a small percentage of license holders that build and maintain their own network. Most license holders elect to lease their licenses to commercial operators due to the expense of building and maintaining a network, but it is an option for those that have the funding. The FCC requires that a part of the license, specifically 5%, is reserved for educational purposes. This is typically accomplished by giving the license holder a certain number of devices that can be used on the network for free. The licenses can be leased to a commercial operator. This would result in lease royalty payments to the license holder. The FCC's proposed rules appear to lead EBS to becoming a commercial, not an educational service as it was intended to be, and this will likely stop most rural deployments. The FCC's third filing window will create mutually exclusive applications, and the result will be auctions which include national operators. What this means is if more than one educational institution applies for a license in a respective area, that the applicants would then be thrown into a commercial bidding auction against operators such as Sprint. Schools are not financially or procedurally prepared for this type of auction, and the result would ultimately be schools and colleges being stripped of this opportunity. Keep in mind that a little under 10 years ago, Sprint entities won 74% of licenses in the 2.5 gigahertz auction. I apologize. Sprint has not been building EBS-based wireless systems in small cities and rural areas, and only are focusing on urban population-rich cities and metropolitan areas. The simple solution to this problem is to have a first-come, first-served application window. Realize that schools and colleges have been waiting for this since 1995, while other educational institutions in roughly half of the nation were already given this opportunity. If schools and small rural operators band together to let the FCC and Congress know why this is an issue and suggest the simple solution that we just stated, there is still time to preserve the educational nature of this spectrum. On this slide, as you see, there is a map representing current 2.5 gigahertz EBS licensed areas. The green shapes represent where current licenses exist. The pink shade or purple shade is where the existing license would expand to census tracts or county borders per the FCC's proposed first window. And the white areas are currently unserved by 2.5 gigahertz EBS licenses. What are some of the impacts of the NPRM as it's currently proposed? To start, educational entities will be stripped of an opportunity that was already given to other schools and colleges in roughly 50% of the US. Like I previously expressed during this webinar, these licenses have not been issued since 1995. Schools and colleges have been waiting all of this time to now just be potentially stripped of the opportunity that they never received in the first place. The NPRM's rules regarding mutually exclusive applications will lead to a direct commercial auction, most likely won by Sprint. If you remember a few slides back, I provided a statistic where Sprint won 74% of licenses in the 2.5 gigahertz auction that took place in 2009. This would result in spectrum continuing to go unused and ultimately no solution to wireless internet coverage in rural America. Educators and Broadband Providers for American Rural Communities, also known as EBPARC, is an informal coalition founded by Select Spectrum, consisting of commercial operators and schools that do not hold licenses who partner together to encourage the FCC to proceed in a way that continues to benefit education and rural American communities. The goal of EBPARC is to influence the FCC to issue new licenses to educational institutions at the earliest possible date. When time comes for schools and colleges to apply for a license, Select Spectrum will assist respective parties in doing so at no cost. Now let's revisit some of the benefits of obtaining a EBS license. The vast majority of these licenses are in rural areas, and they can be used to provide broadband access to unserved or underserved areas, which will benefit students, faculty, and residents of the community. The licenses can also be leased to a commercial operator. This would result in lease royalty payments to the license holder. The FCC states that a part of the license is reserved for educational use. This is typically accomplished by the operator giving the license holder free devices to be used on their network or service credits to access the network. There is a small percentage of license holders, like we stated previously, that build and maintain their own network. Most license holders elect to lease their licenses to commercial operators due to the expense of building and maintaining a network, but it is an option for those that have the funding. So why does EBPARC matter? The additional push from unlicensed educational institutions may be the extra incentive needed to get the FCC to change their rules regarding new EBS license issuance. After all, this is the group that will be impacted most by the NPRM. Issuing new licenses is consistent with FCC goals. The FCC wants to encourage broadband access in rural America, make more spectrum available, stimulate rural infrastructure improvements at zero cost to taxpayer, and support education. We need the help of educational institutions and rural ISPs primarily because many educational institutions are unaware of EBS licenses and the benefits of owning one. We need educational institutions to tell the FCC why this is important to their educational mission. Schools have been waiting decades for this opportunity, and now the FCC's rulemaking will potentially strip them of it. The main objective is to preserve the educational nature of the spectrum and to provide rural America sufficient wireless coverage. Parties that wish to participate in EBPARC should contact me. The first thing I will do is to verify a new license could be issued in your area, and we can begin working to file comment to the FCC in a unified manner. Commercial operators should use their local contacts to partner with an educational institution in an area that is not yet licensed. If the operator or anyone on the webinar has established or is developing a relationship with relevant contacts, I would be happy to schedule calls with the schools that are interested. Our plan is for the schools to file comment to the FCC using our template letter, explaining to them why obtaining a license is important to their educational mission. We have already drafted this template fill-in letter for schools, which makes for an easy and effective way to participate, especially at this time of year. It is only a template, and the schools could alter the letter as they see fit. Comments are due by July 9th, so we must act fast. Once this is completed, Select Spectrum can assist with filing the letter with the FCC as a comment to the proceeding. We are currently looking for a relevant educator located in an area of the country that is unserved by an EBS license to attend a congressional meeting in mid-July. If you or someone you know might be interested in participating in this effort, please reach out to me offline. During this presentation, I have focused solely on the NPRM and its impacts. If you'd like to learn more about 2.5 gigahertz educational broadband spectrum, how it's evolved over time, and the information regarding the actual spectrum, please visit selectspectrum.com, click the EBPARC tab up top, and our previously recorded webinar will offer more details that may be beneficial to you.